This is going on Rusty Judgment.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome back to Rusty Judgment. If we haven't met before, my name is Tom. This is my 1973 Pontiac Firebird. And this is my dad's 1981 Chevy Camaro Z28. Both of them are in mid-restoration. This one, it is getting completely rebuilt to original, minus the wiring harness. We put a 700 R4 automatic transmission in it. It was a TH350, and it also has 373 posi gears in the rear end. Otherwise, this thing will be basically original. This car, however, is mine, and I will not keep it original. Actually, the previous owners haven't. So let me just catch you up on what this car is and what we're doing with it. Cletus and cars, burnout contest, drifting, all around good time, and I would like to drive it on the street. My goal with this is to make it a street legal race car that I could just smoke the back tires off whenever I feel like. But I can also drive on the road. So the previous owners had cut everything out of here. Like all the floor was cut out, the whole rear trunk. It was basically just the Firebird shell still hanging on. One thing that I have noticed about this car since I've been digging more into it after I bought it is I thought it was awesome that it had quarter patches on here. But then I come to find out these are the wrong quarters. They're off of 74 to 81 Firebird. So the quarters aren't right. Neither here nor there. We're gonna leave it as is for now. Today what we're doing is we are going to be putting the Corvette front spindles and conversion kit for the brakes and everything in here. We're gonna get that all set up, get the front suspension sitting on the ground with my new to me C5 Corvette wheels. And then the rear, we already have those mounted up. They're on 2-inch wheel spacers. The rear end is out of a C4 Corvette. And so that's what's going on there. What we're doing up here is a CPP conversion kit for the 2nd gen F bodies. We're gonna put that in today. And then we're gonna tear out all of what's going on in the back seat of the car. Because what I'm finding is either the body's crooked or the frame is not straight. So we're gonna dig into that and check that out next. All right, so we're gonna do this part first because this is gonna be the most fun for me. So there's a couple benefits to doing what I'm doing here. By doing the C5 Corvette suspension up here, and I keep calling it the Corvette suspension, it's really not. It's really Corvette wheel bearings, brakes, calipers, and that's basically it. It's a heavier duty tubular upper control arm, but there's no coilovers or anything that actually affects the steering in it. The biggest benefit I see with it is it gets rid of this old style wheel bearing, goes to a new sealed style wheel bearing, and then I also get the brakes off of a C5 Corvette, so I should be able to find brake parts a lot easier. And then I need to address, so right now it's got coils up front here to control the ride height and the ride quality, but I don't have anything for that. I'm gonna try and find some coilovers to go in there. Ideally some adjustable ones so I can set the height where I want. But for now, I think I'm gonna cut some 4x4 wood blocks, the length I'm looking for, and just wedge them in there so I can set the body down on its wheels and tires at the ride height I'm looking for. So that's the plan. And the other thing is, everything on this front end is loose, so I don't even need any tools to take this apart. There's my tie rod. This was all taken apart by the previous owner. He hadn't finished putting it back together. So, it's all gonna come apart extremely easy. There you go. Top. All right, and then the spindle comes right off of there. So, there that goes. All right, so these are the springs he had in there. These are way too low. Like, the car was like almost touching the ground with those springs in there. So we'll get the upper control arm switched out, and then I'll get some 4x4 blocks cut. All right, so I cut a 4x4 block 12 inches, and I'm hoping this is gonna work. I don't actually have a clue if it's gonna work. I'm just hopeful. Oh yeah, that should work. Use it as a temporary height. Ooh, I wonder if that 12 inches might be too much. Let's see how far down this. Oh yeah, 12 inches might be too much. Okay, let's cut that block down to 10. Okay, we're gonna shave 2 inches off of here and try again. All right, 10 inches is a little bit taller than those springs, but the springs sunk way up and in because they have a ring up inside of here that goes into that the block can't go. So, again, this is all extremely temporary. Now, I'm gonna throw on a 2-inch wheel spacer. And then after that, we can set the front end down on the ground and see how we're doing on our stance and figure out if I got a twist in my frame or if I got maybe the body's twisted, which I could see the body have being twisted. It's extremely cut up. And it's a unibody car. It originally was a unibody car. They cut the rocker panels out of it, so if they didn't get it welded back in well, which I'm not sure that they did, the body could extremely be twisted, which then I'm gonna have to cut apart, straighten the body, and weld it back on. All right, I realize I should explain some things here. So I just said this is a unibody car, and this is, well, so we have 2 second gens. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna explain the unibody comment that I made here. So let's see if I can show this. If it, whoa, almost dropped the camera. Okay. So what this person did is, this is the original frame, which stops right here. And then there's no frame until the back section here, which is supposed to be under the floorboards of the car. Since we have a second gen right next to it, let me show you what it's supposed to look like. Okay, so here's the frame. This is the front section of frame. And then it stops here. There's no frame under the car anymore. And then all this back here, it's all built in. Oh gosh, I don't know if I'm showing you any of this. So it's all built into the floor of the car and the framing of the car itself. So that's why they're called a unibody car, because it's only a frame from here underneath the front of the car. I don't know if I'm showing this at all right. But anyway, so what was done on my Firebird was this. They built a frame from here to the back here, and then it runs up underneath the back end of the car. So you're supposed to be able to unbolt the body of your car off of the frame. Well, what they did on mine, up here is where the subframe ends off the original frame, and then they welded out here and brought a bar in here and welded back around. That's what they mounted the cage to. And then this piece of angle iron here, he had bolted up and in between as like a subframe connector, which would be connecting the front frame to the rear frame. And that's what they did. Let me flip this around and see if I can show you everything here. So this is the bottom of the floor of the car. That is, I mean, it would work for what this guy was gonna do with it, but like nothing has been welded 100%, and nothing has been ground or painted. So I'm having a really tough time leaving this part like this. So the other thing that they did is they cut the rocker panels out, which really bothers me. So by cutting the rocker panels out, they brought this rail all the way up to the edge of the car, which, let's open this door now. So what he did, by doing that, he cut the rocker out, and then they brought this rail really close and then mounted the bars to it. Same thing up here, cut the rocker out, put this bar here, and then welded this whole plate underneath here. So there's 2 things about this I don't like. Because this was a unibody car, there is a lot of strength in the floor pans and the rocker panels of this car. Like when we did that car back there, like 17, 18 years ago. We put new rockers underneath it, but we welded bars from like here to the back, crisscross, and like, cause when you cut the rockers out of these car, the whole body kind of moves because the rocker creates a lot of strength. They cut the rockers out of my car. It's been a couple days. I'm getting a little discrepancy in the height of the wheel wells from side to side. So then I checked the frame from side to side, and the frame actually is sitting about right, but the body's sitting a little off. And so I'm trying to decide, is it the body, is it the frame, is it the suspension? And so I'm just wanting to open this up for two reasons. One, to get more room to measure inside of here, check the frame in multiple locations. And two, I'm gonna redesign this anyway. So we're gonna tear it out. Plus Dawn's not here to say no. Oh man, Dawn's calling me. She knows. It's like she knows I'm doing something she doesn't want. Hey babe. Okay, back to action. All right, come on out of here now. Ooh man, we got sharp edges everywhere. That's not doing nothing. That's also not doing nothing. Oh man, this thing is cut up. I got the car straight. So what was happened was the frame is square to the ground and level, but the body was welded crooked. So I broke loose. This corner of the body was welded to the cage, and that was holding it crooked. So I broke all that loose there. This side of the car was not welded at all. You can move it up and down like crazy. And so I just tack welded it back here to the right height, and I did the same thing on that side. So now the car is square. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tear this whole floor out. I found brand new floorboards for this car for 60 bucks from some guy a half hour away. And so I thought, you know, there's a lot of welding and grinding and cleaning up that needs to be done on this floor, and it's still nowhere near like workable. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get new floorboards. I'm gonna cut all this junk out of here. We're gonna redo the frame rails because they're not right and I don't feel good about them. So we're gonna redo the frame rails. I'm gonna put inner rockers back in this car, which would be the back side. So we're gonna put inner rockers in. We're gonna put floor pans back in. I'm gonna leave the outer rockers for now. And then we're gonna pull the engine and tranny out of this. And then with the floor all out and the frame corrected, we're gonna mock up the LS and the 4L80 trans. We'll get all that mocked up, the cross member mounted in correctly, and then from there we'll put the new pans and the inner rockers in. And to do that, I bought a welder. My dad used to actually, I think my dad used to have this exact same welder a long time ago. So my father-in-law has a lot of really big welders, and they all run off 230. And I have 230 in this garage, but I have it on for the heater and for the air compressor. So the line I have wired for 230 volts is maxed out with the air compressor and the heater. So I didn't want to run another 230 plug for an air compressor. And then I only have another, I think 30 amps out here for the lights and plug-ins. Like, we're really limited on power in this garage. And so I bought this Hobart welder here, which runs off a 110, and it's a much lighter duty welder. It's more for like sheet metal and anything. It says it'll weld up to 1/4 inch. I don't know that I will weld 1/4 inch with this welder. But what we're gonna do with it is, like when I redo the frame section, I'll tack it all really well. And then once we get this whole frame all mocked up, I'll throw it on my car trailer, haul it down to my in-laws down the road, and weld it all heavy and grind it all up and get all the welding like right. Because so what I found with this welding on this car is they only welded like 3 sides of the frame rails that they built, which is super not safe. And then I also found, let me get you in here. Focus. All right, see that? That's not welded all the way, and that's part of the cage. So there's a lot of things like that that I've been stumbling across that need to get re-welded. And so like with this floor pan in the way, I can't get to everything. So it has to come out so we can make this thing safe, because it's really not right now. So we're gonna rip it all out, re-weld it all correctly, redesign the midsection of the frame here, and just make it right, prime it, paint it, put new floor pans in inner rockers, drop the LS driveline in, and then move on from there. So that's like the next big thing we're gonna tackle. Now that we got a welder, I can really get to just redoing this section. So next video, we're gonna yank the engine and tranny out, we're gonna pull this section of floor out and redo the frame. Coming up next, we're gonna be doing a lot of cutting and welding. Next video is gonna get somewhere really far with this thing. Now that we got a cute little Hobart welder, we're gonna get to work. Thanks for watching, bye-bye.